The great chamber of the Galactic Council fell silent as Ambassador Zethkar activated the holographic display. The crystalline being's translucent form shimmered with nervous energy as images of distant star systems filled the air above the assembled delegates. Representatives from 47 different species watched with growing unease as the data scrolled past their various sensory organs. Esteemed colleagues, Zethkar's voice resonated through the chamber's universal translators. We gather today to discuss a matter of unprecedented concern. The species known as humans from the planet they call Earth has begun what can only be described as aggressive fleet expansion. A ripple of concerned chittering, humming, and other forms of communication swept through the assembly. The Velthari delegate, a graceful creature resembling a cross between a mantis and a swan, raised one of her 4 arms. Ambassador Zethkar, surely you exaggerate. These humans only achieved faster-than-light travel 15 of their solar cycles ago. How significant could their fleet possibly be? The crystalline being's internal light pulsed red with agitation. That is precisely what makes this situation so alarming, Ambassador Cillian. In just 15 cycles, they have constructed more warships than most species build in 2 centuries. The hologram shifted to show detailed scans of human vessels. Unlike the elegant flowing designs favored by most galactic civilizations, these ships appeared brutally functional. Their angular hulls bristled with weapon emplacements, and their engines generated energy signatures that made several delegates' sensors register physical discomfort. These are not exploration vessels or trade ships, Zethkar continued, highlighting various weapon systems. Every single human construct appears designed for one purpose: warfare. They call them battleships, destroyers, cruisers. Even their supposedly civilian vessels carry enough armaments to level small cities. The Pakthari representative, a blob-like entity that communicated through color changes across its gelatinous surface, flickered through several hues of confusion. But why? The galaxy has been at peace for 3,000 cycles. The trade compact ensures prosperity for all member species. What could drive them to such aggression? That is what troubles us most, admitted Counselor Vremeda. The ancient elder tree, whose massive form dominated one entire section of the chamber. Her voice carried the weight of millennia as her countless leaf sensors rustled with concern. We have studied their transmissions, their cultural broadcasts, their historical records. Humans appear to be naturally aggressive. Their entire evolutionary history is one of constant warfare. The assembly erupted in shocked exclamations. The ethereal delegate, a being of pure energy contained within a specialized suit, practically vibrated with disbelief. Constant warfare? How did they survive to develop spaceflight? Zethkar manipulated the hologram to display human historical records. Images of ancient battles, medieval sieges, and modern conflicts filled the chamber. Their planet appears to have been what we might classify as a death world. Gravity nearly twice galactic standard, unpredictable weather patterns, and a biosphere filled with predatory creatures that would terrify most civilized beings. They evolved from persistence hunters, added Dr. Zentilla, the Council's chief xenobiologist. The spider-like academic's 8 eyes gleamed with a mixture of fascination and horror. While most intelligent species developed from herd animals or peaceful foragers, humans descended from creatures that hunted by simply never giving up. They would chase prey across vast distances until it collapsed from exhaustion. The chamber fell silent as this information sank in. Finally, Admiral Korvash of the Hegemony Defense Fleet spoke up. His reptilian features were grim with concern. What are their current capabilities? How many ships have they constructed? Zethkar's form dimmed noticeably. Our reconnaissance suggests they currently operate approximately 12,000 combat vessels of various sizes. More concerning is their rate of construction. They appear to be adding nearly 100 new ships each cycle. Gasps and shocked sounds echoed through the chamber. The Velthari delegate's graceful neck sagged in disbelief. 12,000. Admiral, how does that compare to our combined fleet strength? Admiral Corvash's scales shifted to a darker green, a sign of extreme discomfort in his species. The entire Galactic Defense Fleet consists of approximately 8,000 vessels, accumulated over 2 millennia of peaceful expansion. They outnumber us already, and if their construction rate continues, they will have doubled their fleet size within 20 cycles, Dr. Zentilla calculated, her multiple limbs dancing over her computational devices. At their current rate of expansion, within 50 cycles they could field more ships than the rest of the galaxy combined. The ethereal delegate's containment suit sparked with agitation. But what are they building these ships for? Have they made any hostile moves against Council territory? That is what makes this situation so perplexing, Counselor Vrimada replied, her ancient voice heavy with confusion. They have made no aggressive moves whatsoever. When contacted, they are invariably polite, even friendly. They engage in trade, share technological insights, and seem genuinely interested in peaceful coexistence. Then perhaps we are overreacting, suggested the Pakthari delegate, its surface rippling through calming blue patterns. If they are peaceful, why does the size of their fleet matter? Zethkar's form flared bright red. Because their definition of peaceful may not align with ours. I have studied their cultural transmissions extensively. Do you know what humans do for entertainment? They simulate warfare. They create elaborate games where they practice tactical combat. Their most popular recreational activities involve competition, conflict, and conquest. The hologram shifted to show recordings of human sports events and video game footage. The delegates watched in growing alarm as humans engaged in violent physical contests, commanded vast virtual armies, and cheered enthusiastically for simulated destruction. They enjoy conflict, Dr. Zentilla observed with scientific detachment. It is literally recreational for them. What we consider the greatest possible catastrophe they pursue as a form of leisure activity. Ambassador Cillian's feathers ruffled with distress. But surely their governments control their military. No civilized leadership would allow such aggressive expansion without cause. Their governments, Admiral Corvash said grimly, consulting his reports, are often led by former military personnel. Their current leadership includes individuals who have personally commanded fleets in combat. They do not fear warfare. They prepare for it constantly. The weight of this revelation settled over the assembly like a dark cloud. The cosmic wanderer delegate, a being of living starlight who rarely spoke, finally broke its silence. What does our analysis suggest about their ultimate intentions? Counselor Vrimada's countless leaves rustled with ancient worry. That is what we cannot determine, and it troubles us greatly. By all measures, humans should be a peaceful species now. They have achieved post-scarcity economics, eliminated disease, and extended their lifespans considerably. They have every reason to be content. Yet they continue to build warships at an unprecedented rate, Zethkar added. And these are not simple patrol craft. They are constructing massive vessels capable of planetary bombardment, ships designed to fight other fleets in deep space, and specialized craft for assault operations. The Pakthari delegate's surface flickered through worried yellow patterns. Have we tried to ask them directly about their intentions? Admiral Corvash's laugh was without humor. Ambassador Velkron attempted that very thing last cycle. The human response was unsettling. They said they were preparing for the unknown and that peace is achieved through strength. When pressed for specifics, they simply said they would be ready for anything. Ready for what? The ethereal delegate demanded, its containment suit crackling with frustrated energy. That, said Counselor Vrimada, is precisely what we fear most. In all our histories, in all our accumulated knowledge of intelligent species, we have never encountered a civilization that prepares for war while claiming to desire peace. Most species abandon military thinking once they achieve interstellar travel. Humans appear to be intensifying it. Dr. Zentilla looked up from her calculations, her 8 eyes reflecting the chamber's lighting ominously. There is another possibility we have not discussed. What if they are not preparing for war against us? The chamber fell deathly silent. Finally, Zethkar spoke the question that suddenly terrified them all. Then what do they know that we do not? The holographic display shifted one final time, showing the edge of known space, where human long-range reconnaissance missions had been detected. The ships moved with purpose and efficiency, pushing further into unexplored regions than any other species had dared to venture. They are mapping the outer rim sectors systematically, Admiral Korvash reported, his voice tight with growing concern. Our analysts believe they have identified approximately 40 new systems in the past cycle alone. They are not just building a fleet, they are actively seeking something. As the session concluded with more questions than answers, the delegates departed with a shared sense of unease. Humanity remained friendly and cooperative in all official dealings, yet their actions suggested they were preparing for a conflict that the rest of the galaxy could not even imagine. In the empty chamber, Counselor Vrimada's ancient form remained rooted in place, contemplating the troubling patterns emerging from human space. 3,000 cycles of peace might be coming to an end, and the most unsettling possibility was that humanity might be the galaxy's salvation rather than its doom. But salvation from what remained the question that would haunt the Council in the cycles to come. 6 cycles had passed since the initial Council session, and the situation had only grown more alarming. Emergency session chambers buzzed with nervous energy as delegates arrived to review the latest intelligence reports. Ambassador Zethkar's crystalline form had developed stress fractures that refracted light in jagged patterns, while Admiral Korvash's scales had permanently shifted to the dark green of deep concern. Dr. Zentilla's 8 eyes darted between multiple data streams as she prepared her presentation. The spider-like xenobiologist had barely left her laboratory in weeks, obsessively analyzing every scrap of information about human activities. "Colleagues," she began without preamble, "the situation has escalated beyond our worst projections." The holographic display materialized, showing a 3-dimensional map of known space. Bright red dots marked human fleet positions, and the sheer density made several delegates recoil. 18,000 combat vessels, Dr. Zentilla announced, her voice tight with controlled panic. Their construction rate has not slowed. It has accelerated. They are now commissioning nearly 200 ships per cycle. The Velthari delegates' feathers bristled with disbelief. That is impossible. No species can sustain such production without depleting their resources entirely. "That is what we thought," Admiral Korvash interjected grimly. "Our economic analysts have been studying their supply chains. They have apparently developed automated mining operations throughout their home system and 15 additional systems they have claimed as human space. Their resource extraction capabilities exceed our understanding." Counselor Vrimada's ancient form creaked ominously as she shifted her attention to the reports. More troubling than their numbers is their behavior. They have begun what they call war games in deep space. Massive fleet exercises involving thousands of ships practicing coordinated combat maneuvers. The hologram shifted to show recordings of human fleet formations. The delegates watched in stunned silence as massive groups of ships moved with mechanical precision, executing complex tactical patterns at velocities that made seasoned military observers dizzy. "These are not the actions of a peaceful exploration force," the ethereal delegate observed, its containment suit crackling with agitation. "These are the preparations of an invasion fleet." "But invasion of what?" demanded the Pakthari representative, its surface rippling through anxious orange patterns. They have made no territorial demands. They have not disputed any council decisions. By all diplomatic measures, they remain ideal galactic citizens. Dr. Zentilla manipulated the display to show long-range sensor readings from the galactic rim. That is where the situation becomes truly disturbing. Our deep space monitoring stations have detected human reconnaissance forces operating far beyond the edge of Council space. They are not exploring randomly. They are conducting systematic sweeps of uninhabited systems. Searching for what? Ambassador Cillian asked, though her tone suggested she feared the answer. We believe, Admiral Korvash said slowly, they may have detected something we have not. 3 cycles ago, a human admiral made an unusual request during a diplomatic meeting. He asked about our historical records of external incursions and whether the Council had ever encountered hostile non-member species. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The Cosmic Wanderer delegate, rarely speaking but always listening, finally broke its silence. The humans suspect we are not alone. Councillor Vrimada's leaves rustled with ancient memory. For 3,000 cycles, we have enjoyed peace because we believed we had found all intelligent life in this region of the galaxy. The possibility of undiscovered hostile species has been considered but dismissed as highly unlikely. The humans, Dr. Zentilla continued, appear to operate under different assumptions. We have intercepted fragments of their internal military communications. They use terms like threat assessment, defensive perimeters, and hostile contact protocols. They are not building a fleet for conquest. They are building it for defense. The ethereal delegate's energy signature fluctuated wildly. Defense against what? If there were hostile species in nearby space, surely our monitoring systems would have detected them. Admiral Korvash's expression grew grimmer. That assumes hostile species would use technologies similar to ours. Human sensor arrays operate on different principles. They have developed detection methods we consider unnecessarily complex and resource-intensive. What we saw as inefficiency may actually be superior capability. The hologram displayed comparative sensor readings from Council ships and human vessels monitoring the same sector. The difference was stark. Where Council sensors showed empty space, human scanners revealed subtle gravitational anomalies, energy signatures so faint they barely registered, and disturbance patterns that suggested massive objects moving in the void. They see things we cannot, Dr. Zentilla admitted, her scientific pride clearly wounded by the revelation. Their sensor technology is at least 50 cycles ahead of ours in certain applications. If there are threats in the outer systems, they would detect them long before we could. The Pakthari delegate's surface shifted through worried blue patterns. Have they shared these concerns with us directly? They tried, Ambassador Zethkar replied, his form dim with embarrassment. 6 months ago, Human Ambassador Chen requested a meeting with the Council's Defense Committee. She wanted to discuss potential security threats from uncharted space and proposed joint patrol missions to the galactic rim. What was our response? Councillor Vrimada asked, though her tone suggested she already knew. We politely declined, Admiral Korvash admitted. The request seemed paranoid and unnecessarily aggressive. We recommended they focus on peaceful exploration instead of military preparations. The weight of their mistake settled over the assembly like a heavy blanket. The humans had tried to warn them, tried to involve them in their preparations, and the Council had dismissed their concerns as primitive warmongering. Since then, Dr. Zentilla reported, human fleet movements have shifted. They are no longer seeking Council involvement. They have established what they call patrol routes along the outer rim, with permanent fleet elements stationed at key strategic points. The hologram zoomed out to show the full scope of human operations. A defensive grid was taking shape around Council space, with human fleets positioned like sentries watching the darkness beyond known stars. They are protecting us, the Cosmic Wanderer delegate realized, its starlight form pulsing with startled recognition. The humans are building a defensive barrier around our entire civilization. Admiral Corvash nodded slowly. It appears so. But the scale of their preparations suggests they expect something far more dangerous than raiders or pirates. These are preparations for total war. Dr. Zentilla activated a new display showing human ship classifications. They have developed vessel types we have never seen before, ships they call dreadnoughts that are larger than our space stations. Carrier groups designed to deploy smaller combat vessels across vast distances. Siege platforms capable of sustained bombardment operations. And most disturbing, Admiral Corvash added, they have begun constructing what they term fortress worlds, entire planets converted into military installations, with orbital defenses that could repel massive assault fleets. The Velthari delegate's neck drooped with dismay. How many fortress worlds? 7 that we know of, came the grim reply, all positioned at strategic locations along potential approach routes to Council space. They are building a defensive network of unprecedented scale. Counselor Vrimada's ancient voice carried the weight of growing realization. The humans are not preparing to attack us. They are preparing to defend us from something they believe is coming. But what could threaten an entire galactic civilization? The ethereal delegate asked, its energy signature flickering with fear. Dr. Zentilla manipulated the display one final time, showing the furthest reaches of human reconnaissance missions. At the very edge of sensor range, in the vast darkness beyond charted space, faint energy readings suggested massive structures moving through the void. We may soon find out, she said quietly. Human deep space monitors have detected anomalous readings approximately 40 light-years beyond the galactic rim. Large-scale movement signatures that do not match any known natural phenomena. The chamber erupted in concerned exclamations, but Admiral Corvash raised his hand for silence. There is more. Yesterday, we received a formal communication from Human Fleet Command. They are requesting immediate Council approval for joint defense protocols and asking all member species to begin emergency fleet expansion. They want us to militarize? Ambassador Cillian asked in horror. They want us to survive, Admiral Corvash corrected. According to their projections, if the anomalous readings represent a hostile force, they will reach the outer systems within 12 cycles. The humans believe they cannot defend the entire Council perimeter alone. The reality of the situation finally settled over the Assembly. For 3,000 cycles, they had enjoyed peace, prosperity, and the comfortable assumption that they were safe in their corner of the galaxy. Now they faced the possibility that their safety had been an illusion, and only the paranoid preparations of a species they had considered dangerously aggressive might stand between them and annihilation. Counselor Vrimada's voice carried the weight of epochs when she finally spoke. It appears we owe the humans an apology, and more than that, we owe them our gratitude. While we congratulated ourselves on our peaceful civilization, they have been standing watch against dangers we refuse to even consider. The Cosmic Wanderer delegate's form brightened with resolution. Then we must support them. Whatever is coming, we face it together. As the delegates began discussing emergency protocols and fleet expansion, one terrible question hung unspoken in the chamber. If the humans, with their predatory instincts and warrior culture, were this concerned about the approaching threat, how could the peaceful civilizations of the Council possibly hope to survive what was coming? Outside the chamber windows, the stars seemed a little less friendly, the darkness a little deeper, as if the galaxy itself held its breath for the storm approaching from the void. The emergency session had been running for 18 hours straight. Exhausted delegates from across the galaxy watched with mounting dread as real-time sensor feeds displayed the approaching catastrophe. What had begun as faint energy signatures 12 cycles ago had resolved into a nightmare that defied comprehension. "Confirmed vessel count now exceeds 50,000, reported Admiral Corvash, his voice hoarse from continuous briefings. His scales had turned completely black, a color his species reserved for facing certain death. "The lead elements will reach the Kepler defense line in approximately 43 hours. The holographic display showed the human defensive perimeter in stark detail. Fortress worlds glowed like angry stars, their orbital platforms bristling with weapons that dwarfed anything the Council had ever imagined. Human fleets had arranged themselves in layered defensive formations, their 25,000 ships looking pitifully small against the vast alien armada bearing down on them. Dr. Zentilla's 8 eyes had lost their usual bright curiosity, replaced by the dull gleam of professional horror. Preliminary analysis of the hostile vessels suggests biomechanical construction. The ships appear to be grown rather than built. Each vessel is approximately 3 times larger than our biggest dreadnought. "Grown," the ethereal delegate whispered, its containment suit barely maintaining cohesion under extreme stress. "You mean they are alive?" "Semi-biological would be more accurate," Dr. Zentilla clarified, her voice clinical despite her terror. "The hulls pulse with what appears to be circulatory systems. The weapon ports open and close like breathing. We are facing an invasion fleet composed of living warships." Counselor Vrimata had not spoken for hours, her ancient consciousness processing implications that stretched back through geological time. When she finally broke her silence, her voice carried the weight of species memory. "I have searched through our oldest archives, through records that predate the Council itself. There are fragmentary references to the Devourers and civilizations that vanished before we achieved spaceflight." The Cosmic Wanderer delegate pulsed with recognition. "The empty worlds, the systems where we found ruins but no explanation for their abandonment. They were not abandoned," Counselor Vrimata confirmed grimly. "They were consumed. The Devourers strip worlds of all organic matter, then move on to the next system. They have been crossing the galaxy for millions of years, leaving nothing but dead rock behind them." Ambassador Zethkar's form flickered with barely controlled panic. "Then why did they stop? Why are they only now reaching our sector?" "They never stopped," Dr. Zentilla realized, her scientific mind finally grasping the scope of the horror. "They have been traveling in a slow spiral, consuming every inhabited world they encounter. We have simply been living in the eye of the storm, in a region they had not yet reached." The implications settled over the assembly like a death shroud. This was not a conquering army seeking territory or resources. This was a galaxy-wide extinction event that had been inexorably approaching for eons. "Status report from Human Fleet Command," Admiral Corvash announced, reading from urgent communications. "Admiral Chen reports all defensive positions are manned and ready. They are requesting immediate evacuation of all civilian populations from the Outer Rim worlds." "Evacuation to where?" demanded the Pakthari delegate, its surface flashing through panicked yellow sequences. "If these creatures consume entire worlds, nowhere is safe." "The humans have a plan," Admiral Corvash replied, though his tone suggested little confidence. "They call it Strategic Defense Initiative Omega. They intend to channel the invasion through specific corridor zones while protecting core systems." The hologram shifted to show the human tactical plan. It was breathtaking in its complexity and terrifying in its implications. The humans intended to sacrifice their outer defensive lines to buy time for massive civilian evacuations while concentrating their main fleet for a decisive battle at the core system approaches. "They are planning to fight these creatures head-on," Ambassador Cillian observed in disbelief. 50,000 bioships against 25,000 human vessels. The mathematics are impossible." "Human mathematics," Counselor Vrimata said slowly, "appear to operate under different principles than ours. They have been preparing for this battle for their entire spacefaring existence. Perhaps they see possibilities we cannot. The first reports from the contact zones began streaming in as human scout fleets engaged the Devourer advance elements. The feeds showed combat unlike anything in recorded galactic history. Human weapons tore into the bioships with devastating effect, but the alien vessels regenerated damage almost as quickly as it was inflicted. The enemy ships are adapting, Dr. Zentilla reported with growing alarm. Each time human weapons damage them, they develop resistance to that specific attack pattern. They are evolving defenses in real time. Yet the human fleets continued their assault with relentless precision. As one weapon system became ineffective, they switched to different energy frequencies, kinetic projectiles, and exotic ammunition types. The bioships adapted to each attack, but the humans seemed to have prepared for this exact scenario. They have 47 distinct weapon systems on each major vessel, Admiral Corvash realized, studying the tactical feeds. They can cycle through different attack methods faster than the bioships can adapt. This is not desperation. This is a carefully planned counter-evolution strategy. The Devourer fleet began to slow its advance as human resistance proved more effective than anticipated. The bioships had apparently expected to sweep through the sector unopposed, as they had done countless times before. Instead, they met layer after layer of prepared defenses, staffed by a species that seemed to anticipate their every adaptation. "Incoming transmission from the human flagship," Admiral Corvash announced. "Admiral Chen is requesting Council fleet coordination for the main battle phase." The delegates turned to Counselor Vrimada, the ancient being whose word carried ultimate authority in crisis situations. Her response would determine whether the galactic civilization stood together or fell separately. "Send our fleets," she declared without hesitation. "Every ship, every weapon, every crew member who can fight. The humans have given us time to prepare, time to understand what we face. We will not repay their sacrifice by cowering in our core worlds." The next 36 hours blurred together in a chaos of fleet movements, desperate preparations, and increasingly violent battles at the perimeter. Council fleets that had not seen combat in millennia found themselves thrust into the most vicious fighting in galactic history. But something remarkable began to happen. The humans had not only prepared to fight the Devourers, they had prepared to teach others how to fight them. Human tactical officers appeared on every council vessel, sharing knowledge gained from 20 years of planning for this exact moment. "Human combat doctrine is spreading through our fleets," Admiral Corvash reported with growing amazement. "They have developed counter-tactics for every known Devourer adaptation. Our crews are learning to fight like humans." The climactic battle came at the Arcturus Junction, where the main Devourer fleet met the combined Human Council Armada. The bioships, adapted to consuming peaceful civilizations, found themselves facing an enemy that fought with coordinated savagery they had never encountered. Human dreadnoughts tore through the alien formations, while council vessels provided supporting fire with newly installed human weapon systems. The bioships regenerated and adapted, but faced with the combined tactical knowledge of 47 different species coordinated by human battle doctrine, their evolutionary advantages began to fail. "The Devourer fleet is withdrawing," Dr. Zentilla announced in stunned disbelief. "They are actually retreating." The victory celebrations that followed were muted by the knowledge of what had nearly occurred. Entire civilizations had come within hours of extinction, saved only by the paranoid preparations of a species they had once viewed with suspicion. "Status report on human casualties," Counselor Vrimada requested quietly. Admiral Corvash consulted his reports with visible grief. 40% of their fleet was destroyed or severely damaged. They absorbed the heaviest losses protecting the evacuation routes and buying time for our fleets to coordinate. The irony was not lost on anyone present. The species that had seemed most threatening to galactic peace had proven to be its greatest protector. The humans had not only saved the Council civilizations, they had taught them how to defend themselves against threats they had never imagined. "I believe," the Cosmic Wanderer delegate observed, its form glowing with profound respect, "we owe the humans something far greater than gratitude. We owe them recognition that they saw clearly what we refuse to acknowledge." "The galaxy is not a peaceful place," Ambassador Cillian agreed, her previous fears replaced by hard-won wisdom. "We have been fortunate children playing in a garden while wolves circled outside the fence. The humans were the adults standing watch with weapons we were too innocent to understand we needed." Councillor Vrimata's ancient voice carried new resolve as she addressed the assembly. "Let it be recorded that on this date, the Galactic Council formally recognizes the human space navy as the primary defensive force for our civilization. Let it also be recorded that humanity's aggressive preparations, which we once feared, have proven to be our salvation." The holographic display showed human repair fleets already working to rebuild their shattered vessels while maintaining defensive patrols. Even in victory, they remained vigilant, understanding better than anyone that the galaxy held more dangers than one species of devourers. Outside the council chambers, human ships continued their eternal watch at the galactic rim. They had transformed from mysterious predators into acknowledged guardians, their aggressive nature revealed as the very trait that made such guardianship possible. The Council had learned that sometimes the greatest act of love is the willingness to become feared. The humans had embraced that burden, building fleets not for conquest but for protection, preparing for war not from bloodlust, but from the deep understanding that peace is not the absence of enemies, it is the presence of those willing and able to stand against them. In the quiet aftermath of victory, as the galaxy began to heal from its brush with extinction, one truth had become undeniably clear. The universe was indeed a dangerous place, but it was also a place where predators could become protectors, where the capacity for violence could serve the cause of life, and where a species evolved on a death world could teach the rest of the galaxy how to survive.